Welcome to another episode of Under the Agency Hood, an interview series designed to shine a light on how agencies think and how they deliver value to their clients. My name is Mark Sneider. I'm founder and CEO of RSW US. We're the nation's leading outsourced agency new business lead generation firm, primarily serving marketing service firms and other professional service organizations. Today we're here with Doug Lunne and Chris Wilguess from Lunne, the agency. Doug is the president of the agency and Chris is the senior vice president of operations and growth. Lunne is a marketing agency expert at developing and executing B2C marketing and B2B2C multi-tiered marketing programs for clients in the health and finance industries. Financial clients include the credit card issuer Synchrony and Nationwide Insurance. They also represent health brands, including Cover My Meds, Ohio Health, and Cardinal Health. So welcome to you both. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Mark. Very well. Thanks.
Good. Great. Yep. Great to having you both here. So before we dive deep into the topics, can you tell me a little bit about Lunne, who you are, what you do, what your superpower is, what your primary value is that you provide to clients? I know that's a lot sort of baked into that question, but talk to me a little bit about the agency and what you do and the value that you bring.
Sure. We are a 21-year-old agency, and we have 3 locations, one in Dayton, Ohio, one in Columbus, Ohio, and also in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were founded as kind of an alternative to really super creative firms and super strategic firms, and combined the two together to always be strategic and always be creative in the work that we do. In terms of a secret sauce, Chris and I talked about this before we got your questions before the interview. And as marketers, we don't really have a super secret sauce. Our sauce is rather bland, but it is consistency. When we started the agency, one of our clients told us we're basically a for-hire project basis agency. And one of our clients said, you're only as good as your last project or your last day's worth of work as an agency. Yep. And so that keeps us on our toes, and consistency of quality. It's that iron triangle concept where you can pick 2 of these. You can pick good, fast, or cheap. And we know that our clients want all 3 as close as possible. And we know it's impossible to achieve all 3. But our secret sauce is that providing consistency with delivery of those 3 qualities. We want our projects to be obviously very high quality. We have baked in processes, we've baked in checkpoints, we have dedicated proofreaders, we have content teams, we have project managers, we use ERP software to manage the workflow. So we get the combination of good and fast with those assets. And in terms of cheap, we never want to say we're cheap, but we are Midwestern based, and we're not the same rates as coastal creative firms, but we provide the great work that they do because we have that consistency. We have the processes in place, and we have really strong creatives that are always learning, growing, changing. We'll talk about AI in a little bit down the road, but always looking at new frontiers of creativity, always looking at new ways marketing's happening. And so our secret sauce is really consistency and trying to achieve that impossible iron triangle of all 3, the good, the fast, and the cheap.
That's great. And I was going to ask you, as I was listening to your answer, I was going to ask you, do you need to set up the agency a little differently than a typical agency in order to be able to deliver on all 3 of those? And it sounds like you do, and you have.
We have. And initially we had the combination of project management, strategy, and client service in one person. And that's a really hard person to find. So eventually we created separate lanes. We also are an EOS agency, meaning entrepreneurial operating system.
Yep.
So we have very rigid and clear boundaries on the work that we do. Although as a small agency with 40 associates, everyone wears hats necessary when clients need help or we need help. So we have a little different structure. A lot of agencies use similar models, but we practice it. We really practice that consistency every day.
Yeah, that's great. So I know you've zeroed in on two core categories, finance and health. I'm curious, why these two? What about your experience meshes nicely with these categories? And what value do you think that you bring that maybe a more generalist agency may not be able to bring to the table?
We found these two industries kind of organically. Like you said, Synchrony has been a client of ours for a long time. So Doug mentioned the agency's been around for 21 years. For nearly 20 of those, we've been serving Synchrony. They were formerly known as GE Capital Retail Bank when they were part of General Electric. So we were with them through that separation from the parent company. So they've just been a long time client that they've given us a lot of opportunity over the past couple decades to really understand a lot of the areas of finance that they touch. And so that happened, over time. We gained a lot of expertise there. When Lunne Marketing Group acquired the agency Tree in Columbus, they came with nationwide. As you mentioned, they're one of our clients still. So there was more of the industry, and so we kept gathering more and more finance expertise and expanding on that. And so that's kind of how that came about. The health side, interestingly enough, a lot of us come from health backgrounds or worked in healthcare. There are 5 of us who worked together in a hospital system before we came to Lunny, and that just kind of happened over time. But there are other people who worked in pharmaceutical marketing, people who've worked in the insurance and Medicare industries. So, we had a lot of that just in our people. But then on top of that, we've served clients like Ohio Health, MedStar Health, which is in the Northeast, and some others. And then, interestingly enough, Synchrony has a side of their finance products that focuses on health. So it's funny because through a financial product, we've gotten to interact with health even more. So that's how we've come to learn both industries. But what we found is similar with both of them is that they have highly regulated guardrails. So you have to know how far you can go and what you can say, especially when you're talking about people's health or their money. If we were selling tennis shoes, then you got to follow standard ad practices and just don't say stuff that's untrue. But when it comes to health and finance, you really have to know the terminology you can use and what you can't. And so I think we've gotten really good over these years of knowing how to push it without going over a boundary. And when we work with somebody with this kind of experience and expertise, it makes the process go faster. We don't send something that their legal review is going to mark up and send back 3 times. We know what to say. So, it goes much more quickly. And then the ramp up time is minimal because we have a really great base understanding of whatever you're doing in these industries.
Right. Do you feel like that sort of the ability to ramp up quickly, knowing what to expect, those things are pretty key selling points when you're talking to prospects in these industries?
Yeah, they're speaking about the players in their industries, and it's, you have to understand who in a financial industry, how their titles work, their differences and those kinds of things. And then in health, and especially in healthcare, the audiences. There are so many audiences. I've always said healthcare is a really fascinating area to be a marketer because you have B2C because you want them to choose things. You have B2B because you want referrals and you want prescriptions and you want all these things. You have a full gamut of marketing opportunities in health. It's a really interesting area. It seems like it could be really restrictive, but it's not. It's surprisingly big, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yes, so it's. I found it interesting just sort of looking over your materials that you refer to what would normally be called agency of record (AOR) as agency of relationships. Can you talk to me a little bit about sort of why you place that kind of emphasis on it the way that you do?
Sure. The term AOR, as you mentioned, is typically referred to as agency of record. And lots of organizations, large and small, have agencies of record that do great jobs, but they're often very expensive. And it's a hard pill to swallow, especially in the C-suite, to spend that much money on an agency and not know exactly what they're going to get. As I also mentioned, we're very project-based. So any client we work with knows the results and can pivot and change as we do campaigns for them. That's the one point. The second point is a lot of our clients have in-house agencies, which do a really nice job of doing work for them, but they often don't have the bandwidth to support the volume of work and the timing of work throughout the year or through a cycle, especially in finance and health when things tend to be kind of calendar based.
Mhm.
So we can augment the internal agency. We come, as Chris mentioned, we come with knowledge of the industries that we support. We know their sensitivities. We know in the case of finance, money, and health are two of the most sensitive topics to consumers and really anybody in the business. And we know how to market. You can't just market freely given legal constraints and also the sensitivity. So
Mhm.
again, we can operate concurrently with an in-house agency. We know the sensitivities of the market. And really the final point about why we rebranded or would like to rebrand the AOR concept as agency of relationships is that that's what's different about us, is that we start with at the core of our relationship model is our own team working together really in sync with each other to create great marketing. Then we have a better relationship than maybe clients experience with other agencies because we work really hard at being easy to work with. And then ultimately the relationships that we're establishing for our clients and their, whether they're B2B or B2C contacts, those relationships are what we're ultimately judged on. So the marketing that we do to their clients, their prospects, their customers, those are the relationships we're really trying to impact. So we just redefined AOR from agency of record to agency of relationships. And it's actually kind of a tough concept to live up to because we have to make sure that every transaction and every interface with our team is one that is solid and that builds a relationship instead of a
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's great because definitely in-house agencies, in-house creative teams, however they, might characterize it, are, it's definitely a growing trend, and, being sensitive to sort of their needs and how they operate. And, I think it's great and it's super important. And it sounds like you guys are managing it, really well, which is fantastic.
There's
Um,
just two more quick comments on that comment.
yeah, please.
One is that we work with a lot of brands because Synchrony, for example, supports many retailers. They're kind of the wind beneath the wings. And so we are able to create on-brand marketing for those brands. So we really respect the brands. That's number one. And two, in terms of being an in-house agency that happens to be out of house, we are, again, back to the cheap model. We tend to match the internal chargebacks that internal agencies do, which is often the case now because they're often taxing their clients internally for the effort.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So AI, we hear about it every day, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm just curious, how has AI impacted your agency, either positively or negatively?
We've tried to really just create a culture where it's not the boogeyman, it's not intimidating, and it's not something that people aren't worried about whether or not they should look into it. Do they know enough? Do they have the confidence? Because it's baked into everything, and it has been for quite a while. I mean, even we use Gmail platform for our own Lunne.com emails, and it's there. It's in
Yep.
all of the Adobe Suite stuff. So our designers and everybody who's using Adobe products, they have easy access to some AI tools to help them do things more efficiently, or maybe find a solution that they couldn't find on their own. So we've set up a team that internally did a lot of sort of research and look into the different products that marketers are using, look at what could be useful for us, and then we work with our clients to see what they're comfortable with us using. Because again, in highly regulated industries, the biggest concern for them is that an agency like ours could put proprietary information into a chat, and then that could become learning out there. And so, that's a risky way to start divulging information that we don't want out into the world. So we've made sure that we have the education around that, when to use it, when to not. But we've tried to make it just a common thing, so everybody is comfortable in everyday environments. Tapping into AI in responsible ways. It's a tool, and it can be very powerful. And if you use it intelligently, just like anything else in the world, is if you're using it well and you're using it intelligently, You're only going to get better at it over time.
Yep.
And it can be great. So we've also created, little things like internally. Just a few weeks ago, we held an internal contest where people submitted ways outside of work that they've used AI. Some people have used it to redesign a bathroom, or some people have put together things about their vacations, and they've used it for translation if they've gone to foreign countries, or they've used it in all these really cool ways. That it helps sort of remove that scary status. It's not intimidating. It's not going to do something that you don't ask it to do.
Yeah.
So we've taught everybody getting good at asking it exactly what you want is the secret to making it work, and that's what we work on.
Yeah, cool. I'm curious. I was talking with an agency the other day who said that their clients have baked into master service agreements sort of provisions whereby the agency is not allowed to use AI for really anything that they create, produce, write on behalf of that client. Are you seeing any of that sort of activity happen?
We definitely are seeing that in clients in this space, particularly since, as Chris mentioned, the sensitivity in finance and health. Definitely.
Got it.
We've had to educate. We've had to try to take a part in educating and working with them as a partner to say you can't avoid it. So what you really need to do is put the restriction in. You need to put restrictions around responsibility more than just saying you got to shut the faucet off and it's completely because it's like I said, it's baked into everything.
It's there.
Into probably in this recording software right now. So we're going to we're going to have to learn how to live with it in a responsible way.
Yep.
And one of the things that we toy with about AI or consider with AI is this. Everyone's like, oh my, it's going to replace everything that you do. I've used ChatGPT, so I can tell it can write anything I want. But ultimately, that sensitivity, that knowledge of finance and health, that's that filter that our team has with content development, creative development. AI isn't there yet. It certainly could become close in a lot of cases, but art, can't replace human creativity and problem solving.
No, I totally agree with you. Yep. So I'm curious, all clients have their challenges from a business standpoint. I'm curious what some of the tougher challenges you've helped clients overcome, and if there were some unique things that you did, the way in which you helped them address those challenges. Can you speak to that as well?
I would say that our biggest opportunity to help clients solve their challenges is to have clients come to us with a specific defined problem or need. Okay. And then we can apply strategic thinking and creativity to that problem. And that's when over the years, we do thousands of projects a year. So I really didn't come prepared to pinpoint one and show you one. But the ones that really work are those when the client's pretty clear on what the problem is, or we can help them further define the problem. Maybe they think the problem's X, but the problem's Y.
Okay.
So when we clearly state the problem, obviously there's creative briefs in agencies for years. We use creative briefs as a way to define that problem and the ask from the client. The more clear that is, the more on target the work can be. So, whatever the marketing work might be, an email series, a campaign, in-store signage, whatever it might be, if we understand the need, we can develop the right marketing around it.
Yep. Do just sort of a side but somewhat related question. Do you feel like most of your clients know the breadth of your services, or do you have to sort of educate them and help them understand the other things you can do for them beyond maybe what they initially came in asking you to do?
They kind of push us sometimes out of our core strengths.
Yeah.
And that's part of the relationship part. Once you've established that, they start to think that you're the catch-all, you're the handyman that knows how to fix everything. So,
sure.
So they'll show up, and we've bucketized our services into 4 major buckets, and we don't. Email is one of them, but we don't consider ourselves a digital specialty agency, for example. But that doesn't mean we don't get requests for those kinds of services. And when that happens, we rely on partners whenever we have to, or contracted help to help bring expertise, because we really want people who are good at that specific
Right.
request. You know, we know
Right.
what we're really good at, and we know what we don't know enough about yet. So
Yeah.
we are not too proud to say we're going to find somebody who's an expert to help
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah, no, and that's totally reasonable. And I know just through our surveys, marketers today are much more willing to kind of let you be the lead agency and find the other services that maybe you don't do as well as some expert agency that operates in a different space. So
Yeah.
completely reasonable for you to be able to support your clients that
Yeah.
way.
It's a little more general contractor. Like you can't expect an expert
Right.
in electric
Totally.
to be a plumber. So
Yep, yep. No, that's great. So I've got one last question for you. So if a marketer were looking for a new agency, what would you tell them the reasons why they should consider Lunne besides what we've discussed already here today?
obviously, we're incredibly charming. So
Well,
that's
that goes without saying, right?
no, it's something that and it is something we did touch on earlier. I think Doug talked about it a little bit at the beginning that when we've spoken to people for counsel or for feedback, um, they've often said something like, "You guys are in the Midwest, aren't you?" And we kind of laugh and we know what's coming. They say, "You guys are really nice. You guys are affordable. You guys are committed to doing whatever." And so it's funny. I think that Midwestern um, sort of ease of working with, the affordability, all of those things that come with that, those do shine through. And as Doug said, we've always been very proud of the creative that we can put out. So it's not just that we're pleasant and you get mediocre stuff. You get great stuff, and then the
Yeah,
experience along the way. We think that's the biggest part. You can find somebody to get you something really great, but did you enjoy getting there, or was it like crawling over glass to get it done? And we like for people to really say, I liked that from the very beginning of the process until they deliver the final deliverable. So I think that's probably the thing that really, that's where the agency of relationships really comes alive, is that people genuinely want to work with people that they like. This is somebody you would hang out with if you didn't have a project. And that's the way we build our team and the way we match people up with their clients.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, you don't find many agencies that operate the way you guys do, are set up to support clients in different ways, the ways in which you support them. And then I think, zeroing in on the finance and health space, and sort of piling on the expertise that you can bring to those categories,
Yeah.
prospects that operate in those categories is a pretty powerful thing. And there are lots of agencies out there that just won't do some of the stuff that you guys do. I'm sure, and I think it's probably a huge help to marketers knowing that you're there kind of to help them, however they most need the help. So,
Yeah. We can
so
speak their language and work with their budget and be
yep,
there when they need. Yeah. We,
I would add
yeah,
one more aspect
yeah,
to
yeah,
your question, and
please,
that is, uh, in addition to being, fast, good, and cheap, and
hmm
also being likable and delivering on our promises on time, on budget, etc. Um, I think it's just an easier decision to give us a try because we are a project-based firm. So it's not like, if you're in your own life, if you have to change financial advisors, that's like a major effort to like tell the person and then undo all these accounts or whatever you have. We don't want it to be like that. We can easily coexist. In fact, we've coexisted with some really big agencies in the country and in the world on rebrands, and we can do that with ease. We're not trying to take over the world. We want
yeah,
to do great work, and so it's easy to give us a try.
yeah,
And that would
yeah.
be
No, I think
the other aspect.
yeah, I think it's great. And yeah, I mean, I've referenced some of our survey work before, but most marketers want to start relationships on a project basis and see how you perform and how you do. And if you guys have that sort of nailed down and know how to execute more efficiently, more creatively, faster, that gives you a real advantage over other firms out there. So,
Thank you.
well, listen, I really appreciate the time you guys made today. Great conversation. I think there are going to be plenty of marketers watching today's interview, wondering how they can get a hold of an agency like you, uh, you know, and reach out to you specifically to solve the kind of problems that they're trying to solve. Because I'm sure that every marketer is dealing with the kind of things that you guys deal with every day. So thank you again. Really appreciate it, and
Thank you,
wish
Mark.
you all the best going forward. Yep. Thank
Thanks
you,
much.
Doug. Thank you,
Thank you
Chris.
very much. Have a good day.